Now this might come across as a highly offensive video, but I don't actually believe it is at all, and the reason is that psychometric tests are extremely popular in the workplace today. Now Brie Larson is obviously being cast as Captain Marvel, but I'd be very surprised if she undertook a psychometric test. Probably did an audition and a lot of discussion, so she discussed what would be expected of her on and off camera, and they went through a lot of detail, perhaps with Kevin Feige and other casting directors, just to really determine that she was right for the role. But the truth is that anyone can do that. Anyone will come across as a really approachable, really friendly, really communicative person. But when I watch Brie Larson in interviews, especially the Wired interview and with Jimmy Kimmel, she comes across just so rude and obnoxious and defensive. She wants people to believe that she's a victim. Now you might think this is a sexist video, but I think there's actresses that could have done an amazing job of this character, in particular Jennifer Lawrence. I don't agree with all her politics, but she comes across most of the time as really friendly, really approachable, very professional. She started her own charitable foundation. She's donated $2 million of her own money to a children's charity. Again, I don't agree with all her politics, and some of the points that she's done I don't fully agree with. But she is very professional, extremely professional, and she knows how to come across professionally. When she goes on chat shows, she's really jokey. She doesn't take it too seriously. Most importantly, she doesn't come across like the victim. She knows that she has to go through these certain scenarios and prove herself on a daily basis, and she does that because she's chosen to do that. If she didn't want to be a world famous actress, she can go and do something else. And these actresses like Gal Gadot and Scarlett Johansson understand that. They've put themselves in this platform, whereas Brie Larson just tries to play the victim all the time. And I just think it comes across as this really obnoxious, really horrible woman. So in my view, Marvel should implement some sort of psychometric testing to really establish if Brie Larson is the right person for the role, because the situational judgments they could identify: is she sexist, is she racist, how she behave under the real spotlight, because she has brought a lot of negative publicity. Now, one of the other most recent forms of negative publicity was Mark Hamill, where he criticised Last Jedi and brought a massive amount of negative publicity towards that movie and the publicity campaign. But Mark Hamill knew exactly what he was doing. He had the experience, that's a real key word. He had the experience to try and shift away from the blame that he knew fans would have. He knew that many fans would be really upset with Last Jedi, and he wanted to distance himself from that criticism. So he went on the world stage and said that, it's not his Luke Skywalker. He didn't agree with the concepts. He suggested improvements. He did that to avoid the blame. He's done that. Many people can see that Mark Hamill wasn't involved in the storytelling process of The Last Jedi, and that's why Mark Hamill is still a highly respected person within the Star Wars arena, whereas people like Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson are just almost vilified. Whereas Brie Larson doesn't have that experience. She might get that experience through this process, but if Marvel had some form of psychometric testing from the outset, they might have identified that she wasn't really the right person, or she needed to undergo a lot of intensive training, and they needed to put her through media training to allow her to go onto the world stage, to go onto Jimmy Kimmel, to go onto Wired interviews and do a really good job. The sort of job that Gal Gadot, Scarlett Johansson, Jennifer Lawrence do on a daily basis, that Brie Larson has really struggled with, and she comes across as a really horrible, vacuous woman who just looks to victim blame other people, blame other people for situations, doesn't appreciate fans. The Wired interview, she was almost mocking her own fans. It was appalling. And based on that video going out, she needs to sack her own agent as well. She needs to sack her agent, sack her manager, because some of these interviews, they shouldn't be released. Especially the Wired one, because that could have been refilmed, or it could have been just deleted, and they should have done that. That Wired interview is just appalling. It's been downvoted massively compared to the other Wired interviews. It's awful. And that Star Wars girl pointed out just how rude and obnoxious she came across in the Jimmy Kimmel interview, and how Jimmy Kimmel appeared to be kind of like controlling himself and not trying to kind of argue with Brie Larson. He had to be very professional. And there's one point where he pointed out that, and had to remind Brie Larson that she was Captain Marvel. He's being so unprofessional, whereas other actresses like Gal Gadot and Jennifer Lawrence, they are extremely professional and they take their role very seriously, and they don't treat themselves as if they're the victim. They've put themselves on the world stage. If they don't want to be actresses, they can go and do other jobs. They know that. Whereas Marvel didn't really identify what sort of person Brie Larson was, and it's causing a lot of damage. and it could continue in the future where fans just don't turn up in the droves that they have done. Okay, if you take Captain Marvel the sequel, you know, it might do just as well as the first movie, but if there's many Marvel fans that are turned off by Brie Larson, it might struggle. We don't know, but it's a risk that Marvel have taken for themselves by not really testing, making real judgments about Brie Larson's real genuine character. So I'll be shocked if Brie Larson undertook psychometric testing, but I actually believe that she should have done, because it would have prevented a lot of the negative publicity that this movie has received. But if you disagree, leave your comments below. Any comments you may have, again, please leave them below. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. But for me, Marvel needs to be a lot more careful in the future about who they're going to cast and take more time. And if they've given her the role just because she's won an Oscar, that's obviously a real mistake they've done, because just because someone has won an Oscar doesn't mean to say they're able to go on the world stage and go on Jimmy Kimmel and give a great interview, because that interview was awful. So was the Wired one, and she needs to sack her agent and manager and really evaluate what she's going to do in the future. But let me know what you think in the comments below. But for me, she should undergo some sort of psychometric testing to enable Marvel just to really identify if she's the right person for this role. Because psychometric tests are extremely popular these days, so there's no reason to say why she shouldn't take one, in my view. But again, leave your comments below. If you agree or disagree, that's completely fine. And again, if you like this video, please like and subscribe.